Yeah, this is Common Sense PhD with Papa Keith and company. Yeah, this is Common Sense PhD with Papa Keith and company. Make it make sense. I love it when they bring the soul to the beat. They telling me to stay inside, it's not safe in the streets. Got black babies dying, I see blood on the leaves. If I see a devil, I might just take off the sheets. Do what I do to live my life. I can care less about these dudes who just sit online and type, who love to criticize and say, what would you do for the price? In the same breath saying what you do with your life, what you do to survive. Cause most of y'all don't make it, while the rest is sitting at home and scared to take it. The life we lead is not one you can fake it till you make it. And I can't lie, that's why I laugh when they be hating. They so far removed, they still debate on who the best. But the real know that the best don't have to flex. You might not ever hear a bar or see the checks. See the fake will never see you unless you step. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Yeah. This is Common Sense PhD. Make it make sense.
Yes, we are here. Welcome to another edition of Common Sense PhD, where we make it make sense, man. I'm your host, Papa Keith, the People's Voice. Thank you for tapping in. And this one is going to be like really special because we are touching on mental health. I don't know if you know, but the month, my guess is excited. The month of May is National Mental Health Awareness Month. And if you guys know anything about me, I understand the importance of mental health, and I always try to spread the word and, let people know how cool and amazing mental health really is, investing in your mental health. So to end off the month, I definitely wanted to introduce this guest right here. And the cool thing is a lot of these guests that I have on are people who I'm meeting for the first time. So it's not even like relationships I've had over the years. Some people I'll have relationships with. Some people I just get recommendations on them, and I use this as an opportunity to connect with them. So this young lady, this doctor is one, all right? Help me welcome Dr. Porshai Cunningham. She's the founder of Rooted Therapy, a South Florida-based counseling practice focused on helping individuals, couples, and families heal through self-awareness, communication, generational healing, and trauma-informed care. A licensed marriage and family therapist, professor, speaker, and AAMFT-approved supervisor, Dr. Cunningham specializes in relationships, family systems, multicultural dynamics, and emotional wellness. Her work centers on creating safe spaces where people can grow, heal, and thrive instead of simply surviving. During Mental Health Awareness Month, Dr. Cunningham continues to advocate for culturally aware mental health support, especially within the Black and Brown communities. Hello. Another reason why I have her here, because apparently humans waited until the 21st century to admit stress and trauma might affect people. Just revolutionary stuff. So welcome, Dr. Cunningham, Dr. Porshai.
It's an honor to be on here. I'm so excited to talk about my passion with you and on your passion, so it's exciting.
That's what's up, man. I'm glad you did it on such short notice, man. My life is crazy, so anybody who could connect with me and meet me where I'm at, I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. All right, you ready to get started? I got a few questions for you. As some of my audience may already know, and I'm going to let you know, this is also therapy for me. So even though I'm asking you questions, sometimes I may chime in with some of my personal feelings on things, and please feel free to, shoot back and, because I'm sure things that I've experienced and things that I'm learning others have in this chat room as well, okay? All right, so let's get started. Mental Health Awareness Month means different things to different people. What does it personally mean to you as a therapist and a community leader?
Okay. For the record, anybody who's watching this, I didn't get these questions in advance, so
She did not.
He is making sure that you get the raw, real deal, okay?
Yes.
So I love that. I love the authenticity. So mental health awareness to me, one, I love when our society takes a topic and honors it with a holiday, a month, anything that's going to commemorate it and bring it to the awareness of like on a larger societal level. So for me, it's a time where we are allowed, like we have permission, right? If you celebrate it, you're not crazy, because in our culture, they think you're crazy sometimes, or you get these stigmas or connotations when you're trying to work on mental health. So it's a way for us to have permission to celebrate. and to recognize and to talk on topics that most of us are struggling with 12 months out of the year. Nevertheless, to just talk about it 1 month out of the year. But to me, it's a very special month, and I love the awareness around it. That's what I'll say.
No, absolutely. And of course, this is something that we need to deal with on a daily basis, a every month basis, like you alluded to. But the fact that we can highlight it during 1 month, I think, is as important as well. So, it brought you here to this show. You know what I mean? The fact that I wanted to do that. So I could definitely attest to that. And thank you for touching that. Why do you think so many people in Black and Caribbean communities still struggle to openly talk about therapy?
We don't struggle to openly talk about it. We just talk. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, like we talk smack about it.
You can.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, like we talk shit. You know what I mean? Because so a little historic. If you know me, to know me is I am the nerdiest nerd and publish articles and all those things. So I really care about that sort of thing. However, I know that in our community, historically, we were not able to trust mental health providers. They were always predominantly white men. Also, remember, mental health was not super far removed when they started this field, far from slavery, honestly. So there were like certain DSMs, which is the kind of medical book that we use as medical providers to diagnose. If you are in therapy and you are under insurance, you have a diagnosis, FYI, people don't know that. But even that, there were like diagnoses in there about being Black or like why slaves want to run away, right? That was a diagnosis in the DSM at one point.
Wow.
So you can imagine if this field started off with so much bias and such a racial or racist leverage right there, then it's not going to feel safe for us. And so we're not going to go to you because I talk to you and I'm expressing myself and I can talk to a community and they get me. But I talk to you and you're slapping every diagnosis on me, or you're telling me I'm wrong, or now I have to double down and explain my culture to you and what I've been through. Most white clinicians at that point in time weren't as aware of trauma as we are now. That's the past decade that we've really been diving into that sort of information. So yeah, why we wouldn't trust the mental health field. It's just now that we're even getting representation for ourselves.
Wow. With that being said, do you recommend, and maybe I shouldn't ask you this, but I'm going to. So do you recommend that, when people of color or when Black and brown people are looking for therapists, that they should lean towards that, people who look like them, because obviously they will come with a level of understanding and empathy and so forth and so on?
Okay, so I'm going to chop you up a little bit there because you said
Yeah.
two major components that don't always go hand in hand. So
Okay.
in the first sense, yes, please find representation. The reason for this is when you go and you sit on, you can't see this, but I have a green couch over here. When you sit, my clients call it the green couch. When you sit on the green couch, you want to be able to share from your history. You want to be able to share from your colloquialisms, from how you speak, your slang, your terminologies, and you want it to be understood through the lens in which you're saying it, rather than someone casting judgment through their lens and trying to tell you who you are without giving you curiosity there. That's the dilemma. That's why we tend to lean toward finding that representation, like finding a clinician that looks like you is what I say. We are still human beings, okay? Just like a carpenter has tools, right? The therapist tool is their mind. And so they're a human being all the same. So even if you find a Black or a clinician of color, if they do not fit you, I call it dating, like date around, okay? And if you find a white clinician that is woke and that is aware of like cultural dynamics, and you fall in love with them and you love that, not literally, but you love their technique and you feel safe there, then go ahead and be with that clinician. That's totally fine. But just don't assume that because it's a Black clinician or a clinician of color that they're going to come with empathy, understanding, and compassion, because that has less to do with your color at that point and more to do with your training.
Great. Listen, Dr. Porshai, don't feel no way. I'm here to be schooled. Like, you know what I mean? I don't feel any way. I have a doctor on for a reason. You know what I mean? Because I want you to come with your expertise. Yeah, right. Just want to take a quick moment to thank everybody who's in the chat room right now. I see Dr. Vanessa. I just want to shout her out, and a few other people, some of my fam in here, and some of your friends are in here as well. We just want to welcome you real quick and thank you for being a part of this, and hope you enjoy and get everything you need out of this.
Can I
You know how to come? Yeah, please do. Live.
Shout out to my LSs. Love you, Joy. Okay. To my specials, Danny, Norma. Love you guys.
I'm gonna assume LS's is Line Sisters.
Line sisters.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 All right. Cool. Cool. All right. What did you pledge?
No.
Oh, okay. Got it. Heard.
Always a
Say
friend.
less.
Okay, say
Literally.
less. Like who else? There's no. No, just kidding. I don't know divine.
You got an AK in here. I don't know. I don't want them erupting.
Hey, I love them too. I love them too.
All right, all right. All right. So listen, you talk a lot about generational healing. It's so funny. I had a conversation with my friend Janae Tate, who I also do a podcast with, and she talked about that when I had her actually on this same podcast. She was on my first edition. So talking about generational healing, what are some unhealthy family patterns people normalize without realizing it?
How do I say this without getting canceled?
I'm
So
not here to get you canceled, girl.
listen, hey, I'm gonna speak my truth. It's okay. Well, let me
All
ask you
right.
this. You said I can bounce back. So, what was your experience as a young Black boy, right, growing into this very successful Black man, now a public voice, right? What do you remember about your childhood, about your parents, about your father, mother? What's some of your backstory?
Discipline,
Mhm.
a lot of discipline. They came from a third world country, so they saw things in that way, although we were in America. So, like, I remember certain things, like I would want, it wasn't Jordans at the time, it was a pair of Patrick Ewing sneakers. My father would only buy me Bally's and Clarks because, he just was stuck in his third world, ways of doing things that didn't quite equate. So that's why, sometimes we'd have struggle if we didn't go to a school with other Caribbean kids who went through the same thing. We would look crazy or be an outcast.
100%. It's so funny you say that. My son's name is August. Everyone in practice knows him because I built a lot of my things around him. He's 11. And he and I got into it this morning and went to school over Jordan. So the fact that you just said that,
Wow.
I'm going to revisit. Like, that's a little too serendipitous for me. Okay. So this is what I'll say. And I love that you brought in, and I'm glad I asked you because there's a few layers to parenting, not just generationally. However, those intersectional layers, they stack on each other. So one, generations, right? And were you raised by a grandparent? Because that is a generational gap, right? And so now it's already hard enough for me, right, in my late 30s to interact with my 11-year-old son because there's a dissonance there in age and understanding and how I was raised versus how I'm trying to gentle parent him. It's not gentle all the time, but we can talk about that. But also, then if you have a grandparent in there, right, that's even more of a generational stretch. Also, Caribbean, right? I'm half Hispanic, half Black. So depending on that culture, right, African, other families of color, Hispanics, whichever, like it's a different culture that you're bringing to America. And America has its own ideals and standards. And then that on top of the historic racial trauma, it just starts to stack up on us as parents, quite frankly. Not to mention social media. Like, I don't know about
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Listen, when I was a mom, I'm still a mom, but when I was pregnant, okay, I don't see moms on social media like running a 5K, they just had a baby 3 days ago and two nannies running in a bubble behind them with their baby, like smiling all of a sudden at 3 days old. I'm like, I don't know how social media does it. I'm glad that it wasn't so prevalent when I was a mom because now the standards are even higher there. I will say this. I will say give your parents grace with accountability if you're an
Mm,
adult because the accountability is needed and it's not for you to correct them. It's not for you to make them change. They're adults too. But the accountability piece will allow you to heal any type of childhood trauma by saying, hey, this stuff is my stuff, right? And this stuff is their stuff. And we do have to separate that because as generations, we're also building blocks, right? So if I take you here, I'm not expecting my son to come here when he has children. I started you here. You need to build on me. You know what I mean? And so it's going to be
yeah.
a shift. He's going to have a ton of things. I'm already preparing my mind for all the things I need to change and all the things I did that screwed him up. Okay. His wife's probably going to come to me in 30 years like, well, he didn't feel hurt by you. I'm like, girl, you're right. Okay. Absolutely. I wasn't trying to hear him. Clean your So I think just be gentle with parents. Be gentle with yourself too. It's hard. There's
Mm,
a lot of trauma sitting in our bodies. Our parents yelled at us. I don't know about you. I got raised by great grandparents, and my parents.
wow.
So I was in the country of North Carolina, Mary Hill, North Carolina, getting switches off of a tree. right? And now I'm here, and my mom is like, "What do you mean you're gentle parenting?" Like she can't even compute. She thinks I'm messing up her grandson. So talk about generational gap.
Wow, that's serious. Thanks for sharing your story as well. What would you say is the difference between protecting your peace and simply avoiding difficult conversations?
In therapy, I have like about 10 therapists work underneath me trying to get their licensure, and I adjunct at a few local universities. And everything I tell them is whenever you come up against something that is uncomfortable, lean in. Don't
Mm,
don't 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 pull back. Oftentimes, this particular season of our lives, I'm hearing a lot of like, "Oh, I'm going to protect my peace." Protecting temporary peace will not last for long-term peace, right? Temporary disconnect, disassociating is different from peace, right? I'm at peace if I approach you, I have a conversation, I'm accountable, I want to learn, I care about the relationship, right? I can think what we call relationally, right? I can think about multiple perspectives at once. And I've deemed at that point that I need to have a boundary or I need to pull back because you're not good for me in this season of life. That's okay to do. There's peace there, right? And you leave that because you've done your work. And so it's very peaceful on the other side. Other times I hear that people are using emotional cutoff as peace. And so now all of a sudden you're isolated and alone and no one's there for you and you need this village. But you were so busy protecting your peace where really you're just disassociating or not taking those hard steps to do your work that now you don't have a piece of help around you. Okay. You don't have nothing, no slice, no support, no nothing. So I would say lean in, do the best you can. And then if you feel like you've done your work, then you can leave that knowing and rest it, saying, okay, I did what I needed to do here. I got what I needed to get here. And now I can move forward with peace. That's my theory.
yeah, no, I love it. I just don't like when people use it conveniently, right? Because people can do that, right? Based on if it's something that you don't want to talk about, then of course you're protecting your peace. But if it's something that's important to you, then you'll go to the end of the world and talk about it till you can't talk about it anymore. And that's the frustration, I guess, for me in certain, type of relationships, whether it's like full blown relationships, or even some relationships with your friends. I have some friends that they only want to talk about their stuff. And I'm talking about even guy friends. They just want to talk to me and offload on me about their stuff. And then as soon as I talk about my stuff, they're cutting me off or they don't have the patience for it or they're distracted. You know what I mean? So I think everything like I think the key to life for me is balance in
Yes.
anything. Right? So that's right. So to me, if I find those type of situations, then I either am upfront and direct and like, listen, if we can't have a balanced situation here or a conversation, then it's
Correct.
better we don't have one at all.
Correct.
You know what I'm
Boundary.
saying? Yeah, for real,
Yeah.
for real. So
Yeah.
listen,
I want to
go
add
ahead,
something to that with peace and
please.
reciprocity. Sometimes, right? Remember, and for anybody that's listening, please understand you can never and will never be someone else's peace. And that goes for men and women. You can never
Mm,
and will never because peace is within self. Okay, is
mm-hmm.
within self. So what ends up happening is if you're trying to be someone else's peace, it's not going to work. But also remember that people have a capacity to them. There's a threshold to what they can handle. If your capacity, like for example, you, Papa Keith, yours is larger as a man. You talk vulnerably on podcasts, right? You are open to therapy, right? You are intellectual, you're communicative, right? And if someone comes to you because they see that you can do that, but when you try to go to them for that relational container, they can't offer it. Sometimes peace is drawing a boundary and not giving out your energy there because that's not a reciprocal container. This is not mutual. They're not giving back. That's that balance that I like that you said. It needs to be a balance where if I'm going to hold this space for you, you hold it for me. Now it's not going to be 50-50 every day, every time we go through seasons, but you'll pick up on it in your soul if someone is just always taking and not giving back.
Thank you for mentioning that because that's something that I struggle with in relationships as well too. I know how I am. I know what I come with, and I think a part of me too. At this stage of my life, I always feel like a part of my purpose is healing others. You know what I mean? And because I have the level of patience and because I have this way about me that I know is unique, I try to offer it to what I deem as the people who need it the most, right? But it's so draining. You know what I mean? It can be so draining, and then sometimes you pour into them or you pour into that situation and then you do not get back what you need from it and you just kind of get lost.
Yeah. I do. I know what you mean. And I think people who have patient souls like yours, it's their gifts. So please don't give up. Don't harden on us. Like, we need that. You work a lot with art. You didn't know this, but art therapy is a thing. So, you being
It is.
R&B and all of that. Also, there's a lot of research that supports where men do the most heal. Black men specifically do the most healing in group conversations. This podcast is a group conversation. So you are working through a very therapeutic lens. I will say, though, at the same time, I had to learn this personally, that the first human being that you come in contact with every morning is self. So the same love and care you give to somebody else, you have to give that to you first. You're the vessel. If you don't take care of your vessel, it doesn't work. And also, we like to deem that as like selfish, or no, your energy is yours. You give it out as you see fit. And the truth is, people like you that are really giving, that are wanting to be in those spaces, it's not about selfishness, right? And at that point, we have to pull in and say, okay, let's protect self so that you can do this another 30 years.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Porshai. I really appreciate that. And yeah, sometimes you know these things, but hearing it out loud or hearing it from a professional, it has a different vibe to it. And that's why, everybody's listening right now. If you're going to social media for advice and, that's not the wave, you got to go to a professional, someone who's licensed, like, Dr. Portia, and get the real sauce there. You know what I mean?
Can I
So
challenge
talking about,
that a little bit?
say that again?
Can I challenge that a little bit?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, unpopular opinion amongst therapists, so I know they're going to come for me, and that's okay. I think that do and get it where you can. Okay, there are sometimes coming in a first session, it is anxiety provoking to come in
Hmm.
and to talk about the most vulnerable parts of yourself, the biggest mistakes that you don't even want to witness for yourself. And it can be very hard to bring relationships in that you're scared that a therapist is going to come in and dismantle. And so if you're not ready to come into therapy yet, that's okay. Just be strategic on who you're listening to and who you're following. I always tell my clients, fill your feed with affirmations, fill your feed with therapists, content, so that when you wake up, you're just not going through feed that makes you feel insecure or bad about yourself. For sure, fill it up so that you can have those little tiny deposits. Just be aware that that's all they are, right? Like, I don't go and like grab a little candy or grab a Snickers and think it's going to feed me for a lifetime. I know that this is just something that's a sweet treat that I'm going to get. It's not quite so healthy, but it's yummy and it can get me through a day. That's okay to do. So you can use your social media. We're going to have it for a lifetime at this point, clearly. But just be mindful as you're using it and research the people that you're following, especially with everything that's going on right now. Like, definitely research that and make sure that their content and their credentials and everything aligns, right? So that when you're receiving information from them, it's something that's going to be healthy and helpful.
Can I push you back a little bit?
Yeah,
Respectfully?
please.
So what you said is correct. But here's still the issue that I have with not going to a professional, right? When you go to a professional, it's like building a relationship within that. They're going to learn, or they're supposed to learn things about you along the way so they're able to shape you. What I'm concerned about with people going to social media is that they kind of fall into a hole, right? Because nobody wants to really feel, if they haven't had the experience of dealing with like a real therapist, they don't want to feel like they really have a problem. So if you leave it up to social media, you're going to just be like only the points that make you look right all the time. You know what I mean? Like, that's right. That's how I feel. And you're just going to grab onto that shit. And the things that you're guilty of and the things that you're doing wrong, you're not going to see those posts. You're not going to engage with none of that. You're only going to focus on it. That's right, girl. I need my peace, and this is the word of the day, and this is my affirmation, and all that kind of stuff. But you're living in an illusion because you don't have anyone to be like, no, you're wrong. I need them to go to you, Dr. Portia, so you could be like, no, sis, you're wrong. And here is why. And let me show you a different way of looking at it. And da, 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 da. So those are the only things I will, that I get concerned with social media. Because I see people, here's the crazy part, because I'm on social media a lot because of what I do. And I'm seeing people like posting certain things, and I'm like, yo, you don't even live like that. What are you talking about? Like, you don't practice what you preach. Like, why are you posting that? Like, you know what I mean?
I do.
Or
I've seen it. I know.
yeah,
I know what you mean.
and you know what I mean? This has had nothing to do with therapy. But one thing that used to kill me when everybody was doing their fitness thing, like they would show you I would hate, and if anybody does this, please, no judgment, but judgment. I would hate to see people on the treadmill. And like, okay, you posted you sweating on the treadmill. I get it. You know what I'm saying? It does something for you. Great, no problem. Right? But then the next post, you eating. You at a restaurant showing your food and like, yo.
Hey, it's about
Like,
balance. You said it's about balance. You said it's about balance. Like my son would say 6'7". Like, I don't know. Like a little bit of this, a little bit of that. No, I say that
you're right.
they need. Here's the truth: is the people who are liking those posts and approaching life in this season in that way, they're not ready for a therapist anyway. That's the truth.
Mm,
That is the truth. They need the validation. It is dragging them. They are behind the screens at night scrolling. They are depressed. They are sad. And they need to know that there's light in the world and that people are feeling that and that they feel seen, right? That helps with suicide rates going down, hopefully. And eventually, my prayer is that they will come to a season where they're like, it gets so bad or they're at a space that's so pivotal. They're like, you know what, I'm going to try therapy out. And I have a lot of those people sit on my couch. But it was some of those posts that even got them there.
got you. I see your point now. You're good, Dr. Portia. You're good. You're good. All right, listen. Since we're on the topic of social media, it has everyone as a life coach and a relationship expert. How can people tell the difference between real healing advice and performative internet wisdom?
You know what? I don't think there's a blanket here. I'll say that because the real healing is going to happen through rapport or relationships, right? And so because you can't truly have a relationship with some influencer all the time on social media, there's that. But I will say that there are some red flags that I go by with my doctorate. One, if you are criticizing, okay, I'm a Gottman level. I'm a Gottman trained therapist, and he is a relational expert, Dr. Gottman, or both of them. They're two doctors, Gottmans, and they bring in these four horsemen. So these are primarily used originally in his research, now over decades old. They were primarily used for couples, but as I've used some of that work in my other lenses, I'm like, oh wait, this is in general, right? Are you criticizing these people on the internet? Are you being contemptuous? That means rolling your eyes and being rude, and you're doing all of these things for likes, right? And for views. But the truth is that there are people behind these screens and it is cutting them deeply. It is making them walk out of their house like with two side eyes, worried what people are thinking. So what you put out is out. You can't bring that back in. So criticism, defensiveness, right? Lack of accountability, any type of like stonewalling that happens, or if they're like promoting any emotional cutoff. Also, like sometimes we can get really rigorous with parents as well. Like anything that is going to interrupt the relationships that are around you. Now, if it is going to feed into it, if you're looking into this and it's helping you mold yourself, it's helping you challenge yourself, that's a green flag. But if you're looking because you're very critical of yourself and now you're criticizing others, like for example, I think there was like, was Samuel someone, or there was
Kevin Samuels?
yes, or I think so. But I think he passed away, unfortunately.
Yeah, Kevin Samuels.
There was a huge following of Black women that followed him, but he was, I think, in my opinion, extremely detrimental to the Black women in the community because of the way that he spoke, the things that he said. But the truth is that we can sometimes gravitate toward people who are critical in those ways, thinking it's helpful because our inner critic and how we talk to ourselves is critical. And so now this feels normal, whereas therapeutically, that's not normal, and there's no healing in that space.
Got you. Good stuff here. Good stuff here. Dr. Portia, thank you. What are some signs someone may need therapy even if they think they're fine?
So let me just talk about the tall T's and the little T's. Tall T trauma, okay? Little T trauma. If you are sleepless, you're having trouble sleeping, if you are restricting or overeating, if you are finding yourself depressed, if you are you get off of work and you have no energy from the time you clock out on Friday and the time you have to clock back in on Monday. If you don't have any hobbies that you enjoy. If I were to ask you right now, so anyone listening, if you were to ask yourself what brings you joy and you can't think of at least 5 to 10 things, therapy is a good place to start. If you have no support system around you, if you are a parent, if you are a single parent, if you have a parent and you're a caregiver, right? And so you're now taking care of someone else or a legally dependent adult, any of those high risk factors, if you just had a child, father or mother, okay? Those are really good transitional points. If you're going through a divorce, if you're getting married, I'm a licensed in state of Broward, I can do certifications for premarital licensure. These are really important because they open doors and they plant seeds for you later on. So pretty much, long story short, Papa Keith, if you're a human being, you should be in therapy.
I love it. I love it. For those tapping in right now, I'm here with Dr. Portia. We're almost wrapping up Mental Health Awareness Month, and I'm happy to have her as my guest. She's been killing it. You got to watch this whole episode. It's absolutely amazing. We still have more to go, but just a little check-in for those tapping in. Thank you so much for being here with us as we talk about therapy and how important it really is. This one is probably going to touch a lot of people. How does unresolved childhood trauma show up in adult relationships?
Unresolved childhood trauma shows up in everyday interactions, from how easily we can receive feedback in workplaces, from how long we can keep friendships, from how vulnerable and how comfortable we are to be with a romantic partner. What makes me so sad nowadays is that people will truly love someone, and I mean deeply love them. But because they were hurt in childhood, it's so hard to trust and to go dive as an adult into that depth of intimacy that's required for like a successful, happy, healthy, long-term marriage or relationship. And so they miss out on it because it's safer to sit back and not have to be vulnerable and exposed than it is to trust someone else. And the truth is that it's a give and take process because we're both imperfect in here, baby. I'm not perfect and you're not perfect. So you're going to get hurt by me and I'm going to get hurt by you. And that doesn't mean that you need to be in a relationship where you're constantly being hurt and someone's not taking accountability and being defensive. But it does mean that you need to expect imperfections both ways. And I think that's hard to do when we spend a childhood trying to appease our parents. Most of us don't even remember that. But that is part of the human development where you want to make them proud and you're trying to do the best. And if they're critical or it's never enough or anytime you're vulnerable or they're yelling or they're physically beating you, right, then I've seen a lot of people be hard on physical touch because of that. The body holds trauma inside the body. And so there are so many ways it surfaces. And until you're really in therapy and in these conversations in this depth and exploring your history, it feels like everyday norms. Like none of it feels out of place. None of it. And almost you might be asking like, dang, why do I keep getting the same guy? Or dang, why do I keep attracting the same girl? Right? What is this? Like, why are they attracted to me? And it's like, oh, it's because you're attracting them. And there's something about you and how you're showing up in relationships that's leading you to either accepting this or participating in that dynamic in that role.
Wow. It also goes back to what we kind of touched on earlier with generational traumas, you know. When I hear you say that, I had to break one myself, the way my father would discipline, physically, I pretty much passed it down, and I always give credit. I've talked about this before, but I always give credit to a teacher named Miss Lisa, who saw me discipline my son, and she had to course correct me at that moment, And then not only did she course correct me, she didn't like embarrass me or anything, but she kind of pulled me to the side and explained to me, like why and how damaging that is, and allowed me to know that I'll be continuing that, and if that has affected me, think about now I'm going to continue this generational, damage, So, that's something from that day I was able to fix the way I discipline my son, and at the time I thought that was part of being a dad because that's what I knew.
Correct. How were you able to receive her feedback so well, and what about it made you feel like, okay, I'm going to change my parenting track?
Thank you for asking. It was one, I respected her. Her name is Lisa Curtin. One, I respected her. The other part of it was the way how she did it. She didn't like yell at me or try to embarrass me or show me out because it was actually in her school. She pulled me to the side. She reasoned with me. And I felt what she was saying. It just hit me. Part of it I can't even explain. It just kind of hit me, and it resonated with me in that moment. And then I sat with it further than that and thought about it. And I was like, I thought about what I went through, and I was like, is this what I really want to do? Is this do I want to continue this behavior?
Yeah. That what you just described, thank you for sharing that. That's how therapy is. You'll build a relationship with the therapist to where when they do correct, when they do share or challenge, it doesn't have to feel like this vulnerable attack on you when you're not open and your defenses are down. It feels like a collaboration. It feels like love. It feels like care. It feels like someone who's investing in you, right? And who cares about your well-being and sees the best in you. And it's in that relationship. So it sounds like with Miss Lisa, you had a relationship with her and you knew that when she spoke to you, she cared about you and your son. That makes a
It's so
huge difference.
it does, and funny you said that because I remember for with my first wife, we went to therapy, and I walked out because I felt the same thing you just said. I felt attacked. I felt like as though you had already been working with this person, and here I come along into this part of the therapy. They know everything, and they've built a relationship with you, and now here I come to be beaten up by both of you. I'm out of here.
Wait,
I remember I walked out.
you said I'm out. That's hilarious. Hold on. Rewind that for a second for me. What do you
Mhm.
what do you mean you went to a couples therapist and they saw her first? How did that work?
So I don't. It might not have been a couple therapists. It might have been just because I didn't have as much knowledge as I have now. Back then, this was a while ago. But it
Okay.
was a therapist that maybe she had been going to, and then they invited me to come to a therapy session, and then I just felt like the boxing gloves was on.
For sure. Yeah, because you don't have no rapport. Side note, so for anyone watching, if you are doing couples therapy, let's say you really love your individual therapist, that is your individual therapist. It is unethical for you to then 4 or 5 sessions in bring in and start couples counseling. Okay? Don't do that. This is the exact reason why. Don't do it. Ethics are very important. Okay, you have heard one side of a story, and that's why I'm primarily a couples counselor. I know I tell my couples all the time, neither one of you are my client. Okay, the relationship in between you is my client. Otherwise, two people would not be on my couch or more. So at this point, neither one of you are my client. The relationship is my client. Okay, that's what you need.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, too. So, in relationships today, what communication issue do you see destroying couples the most?
Contempt, defensiveness, and criticism. It's the four horsemen and stonewalling, especially like, and I mean, men's mental health is coming up, so I'll defend my broskies first, but please know I'm girl's girl to the day I die. But as women or any partner really, we can be, if we're frustrated and upset, we can start to get critical, especially if we've had past relationships that hurt us. We criticize to express our feelings. We are contemptuous, i.e., like rolling my eyes, rolling my neck, right? Or I'll see other partners like when their wife or partner is, in distress emotionally or she cries too much. Here we go, it's that type of reaction. We think that it's minimal. It's actually the biggest part of communication because someone who deeply loves you is reading every ounce of your aura. They want to know how your eyebrow twitches. They want to know how your lip quivers. They want to know how you smell. Right? Most of you have been in each other's bodies. Okay. So, yes, they care about you and they want to know that you love them. And so, when that enters into the conversations, now it's no longer about the words that are being exchanged and the content or the problem that you're trying to solve. It's about the how. So, that's what I've seen be the biggest issue is not the topics. You could talk about anything. It's how do you express yourself? How are you sharing? How are you listening? How are you attuning to emotions? It's never the what, it's never the why, it's always the how.
Yes, Dr. Portia.
I got you, Dr. Keith, I got you. We saying
Clearly.
health, okay? Mental health.
What role does culture play in how people approach love, discipline, vulnerability, and mental health?
I don't think we got enough time for this one.
That
Let me
part.
ask you, actually, I'll ask you.
Yeah,
As
yeah,
a
yeah.
Black man of Caribbean descent, when you
Yes.
were growing up, where did you get your accolade to be in relationships? Like what was taught to you? What was encouraged to you? Even if you've outgrown it, if you can think back, like what was something that was peddled to you and your boys when you were growing up?
Man, about relationships?
About relationships, about women, about relationships.
Well, I mean, when we were younger, it was just about how many relationships you can get.
Correct.
Right. It was a numbers game.
And I
I
was
never, for the record, I never partaked in that. I just wasn't a good fit for me.
okay.
So I would always say, and I would always say, like my boys could have 100 different girlfriends, and I'd rather be with one person 100 times because I'm just not good. I'm not good with transactional.
Yeah, it does.
I'm
It
not.
will be.
I'm not.
That's yeah, yeah. But
I'm not good with transactional.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when you're in that numbers game, that's a transactional game.
100%.
Because there's no time to connect and what. If I can't kiss you, I can't smash you. If I can't yeah.
Yes, it's true. Because sometimes people will smash and refuse to kiss. I'm like, The bodily fluids that we're exchanging. I hear
I
that. I hear
can't
that. I hear that.
listen when I go to Colombia, it is not on no passport, bro. That'll be a waste of money for me.
You're there for the beaches, huh? Okay. Okay. I hear
No, the
you.
vibe. I love Medellin. I swear.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. I will say it's no different. I have conversations with my 11-year-old son and it's similar, right? Still. And so when we talk about culture, and if you are raised, right, and we're raising generations of young men to not value one woman, or before you get to her, right, you need to explore all of these other women so that you'll have this sort of power dynamic or control when you get to this ideal woman. The reality is and for all my athletes out there, you'll know this, and you also know this as a, as someone who's a public speaker, how you practice is how you perform. So if you are practicing having very superficial relationships with numerous women, okay, then when you get into a relationship that requires depth, intimacy, commitment, what men and women both are struggling with in those relationships is you've practiced with so many people on these transactional levels that when you're actually in love with someone and they hurt your feelings, and there might be a time where you guys don't talk for an hour or two or a day, or maybe it's really bad, not once a year, you don't talk for a week because you're mad. Where are you getting your love, validation, physical affection from if they're your only source when you're not used to having that? Because back in the day, hopefully very far back in your days, then when you didn't have man A, man B, and man C available, you had D, E, G, F, P, Q, R, right? Like we have an alphabet. So 1 through 5 doesn't want to answer. Okay, next batch. You can't do that in commitment. And so having those coping mechanisms to sit through the struggles and the growing pains of love, you have to practice that, but you can't practice it if you've not been raised in it. You've not been raised to value it. So now you're trying to come to the game of marriage, trying to come to the game of commitment, but you have no practice as an athlete there, if that makes sense.
Total and unequivocal. You landed that plane beautifully.
Thank you. Thank
You
you.
did, yes. A lot of successful people are secretly struggling emotionally. Why does achievement not automatically equal happiness?
Because happiness does not come from achievement. That's why. Achievement comes from achievement. Accolade comes from achievement, right? These are people who admire you or adore you because of what you have accomplished for yourself. And now they like your accomplishment and they like where you're at. And so if you fall from there, they might not like you anymore. Okay. The reality. And that doesn't make you happy. And when you start to up notch these levels, you start to see the shallowness in that care and consideration. On the other hand, though, speaking to my Black community specifically, I have to do this for my Black professionals, is when you are in a family that is either striving, or maybe it was just a teacher in a school, maybe it was a pastor or a deacon in a church, right? Maybe it was a first lady, maybe it was an auntie that wasn't really your biological aunt, maybe it was your parents and your family. Somebody kept pushing you to keep going and to make a difference, and maybe you wanted to break out and get out of there, right? And you wanted to make something of yourself. The dilemma that comes there is that if your entire community growing up is at a completely different level than you are, or doesn't have the same resources, then that is a very lonely journey, because you are what I call a trendsetter and you are paving the way. And so there's no one there beside you to help you from your childhood all the time. And sometimes, even if they want to, they can't. They don't have the capacity because they don't have the exposure to know what you'll need. You don't have the exposure to know what you need because you're the trendsetter, right? You're paving the way. So sometimes you're unhappy because it's very, very lonely to be the first one paving the way. I will encourage you with this. You are a generational healer. Don't stop. Okay, so you are healing generations by doing this, because now you are like I said, we start here and then now you took that and boop, 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 right? And I don't want to say it's better than, it's not that, but maybe like further along, right? But find mentors, find communities. For me, Delta, for me, other women of, professional organizations, older women also who are mentoring me, looking after me, who can check me and tell me about myself and educate me on certain areas. If there's a field that you're in, find someone who's been in that field for a long time. Okay, if the wheel is not broken, like, you don't need to fix it. Just ride that thing, right? Just get where you're trying to go. It's okay to do that. And they want, honestly, you will email somebody randomly and they will take them out to lunch, have a conversation with them, build a relationship with them, because you're going to have to build a community because you're a trendsetter. So you're farther away from where you started, and you can't drag everybody with you.
Good stuff, Dr. Porsche. You know what kind of like woke me up to stuff too? When they started coming out with that like loving hip hop and loving, in Atlanta and all these different things. And not even just the black ones, the white ones too, Orange County, what have you. That's when I was like so open to see like these people have all this money, all these things, and they're so miserable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean that fake reality TV kind of opened up my eyes to that as well.
1,000.
What are healthy ways men can begin opening up emotionally without feeling weak or judged? This one, please take your time with this one because
Not too much,
because
not too much.
no. I mean not meaning like that. Meaning like take your time to explain it because these are conversations, and I'm gonna give a quick story
Please.
of vulnerability to lead into it, right? So I discovered that I wasn't like my sexuality changed, right? And as a man, we always want to feel like our sexuality is right. My sexual desire wasn't there, and and I didn't understand it,
Mm-hmm.
huh?
Your libido.
But you couldn't tell me that. I'm just thinking like it's everybody else's problem, or what the hell's going on, or I ain't into you, or I'm thinking it's everything else, right?
Okay.
Randomly, my friend opens up this men's clinic thing, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go to support. Literally went to support. They ran some blood work on me. Yo, my testosterone, right? So when you're young, your testosterone as a young man, it could be up 1,000, right? For around, my age, say 35 to 55 or whatever, it should be around 600. Dr. Portia, mine was 123.
Whoa.
So, right. So I'm going to tell you this, right? So they told me that. They said, listen, we can help you with that. I call it the T shot, right? So I started taking a T shot, life changing, right? I started telling all of my friends.
For sure.
I started telling all my friends around my age. And I didn't care what they thought about me. I didn't care. Like, I'm comfortable in my skin. So I wasn't even scared about. I was more concerned about spreading the knowledge than I was about judgment. You know what I mean? So, right. So I'm using that to open up. What are healthy ways men can begin opening up emotionally without feeling weak or judged?
Okay. So first, to add to that, thank you for saying that. One thing that I like to say as a rule of thumb, and now I'm a mental health provider in the health field, but I am not a medical doctor. So let me just throw that out there. However, the rule of thumb that I give is women typically go through cycles of hormones every 28 to 30 so days, right? And that's why you guys think we're crazy. But men, it's on about a 28 to 30 year cycle. So as you get older, your estrogen gets higher as a man and your testosterone decreases. Women do the opposite. Our estrogen starts to decrease and our testosterone starts to increase at times. And so one, I love that you brought in the age, because depending on your age is going to depend on the type of health that you need to be focused on sexually. Also understand that sex doesn't have to be penetration all the time. There are other ways to be sexual, to express yourself and to enjoy it. So I know some men struggle with ED, erectile dysfunction, especially in the Black community sometimes, not saying that we have that problem specifically, but with blood pressure issues and everything like that, it's going to affect your ability to perform. And that is a huge blow, I hear, to, men's mental health, their identity, because again, when you are raised as a young boy, here brings it back in a circle. When you are raised as a young boy, that your value is sexually and physically pleasing multiple women, right? Then you naturally assume that this means that I'm a man. So then when that changes, as it should with the human design, now what is a man, right? Am I still that, or what does that look like? This is another reason why we have to start to change the way we parent and the way we think our young boys are, to give them space. But I digress, and I'll jump into just general mental health as a whole for men. One thing came to me. So after COVID, I started noticing my practice a huge influx of male clients. Huge influx, like individually. There would be men coming to my couch and their wives did not even know. And fortunately for them, confidentiality, I can't tell them. Okay, anybody could call. I cannot confirm nor deny that I see you in a client. In fact, I have clients walk past me every day and I don't even look at them. They don't look at me. In terms of I have heard them say things like, right, I will ask because I had to get curious. I'm not a man. Surprise, surprise. So I'll ask us like, well, why don't you have group chats? Like, why don't you talk to someone? Because that's what I do, right? Listen, there's a group chat, I assure you, going on right now. Like, go to Porshai, blah, blah. My girls are backing me right now. I bet my bottom dollar on it. Men don't have that. You have the group chats. You can talk statistics. You can talk sports. You can talk business. You can talk stocks. You can talk shit about the girl that pissed you off, right? You could talk one about you, how you played. You could talk about a new one. But you can't get vulnerable there and say, hey, man, I've been depressed for 3 weeks because the woman that I love is XYZ, right? That's maybe one guy, if that. And even then, those conversations need to be reduced to 30 minutes, if that, right? That is not enough capacity for you to have space to process how you're feeling, to even first become aware of it, and then be able to process it and make change in it. And so I say with men's mental health, be very gentle with men in that way. Unfortunately, they're closed off. They are protecting their masculinity in ways, but if you get with the right clinician, they will be able to talk to you. They'll be able to validate you. You'll be able to feel insecure in front of them without judgment. And many men, which, again, I'm a girl's girl, so I was surprised, but I am, big on egalitarianism. And so when they came in and they were saying some of the things behind scenes that they don't talk to anybody about, that women were saying to them, doing to them behind closed doors, I was heartbroken. I'm like, you guys live a whole silent world. And then the only thing that we hear about are these, not this podcast, of course. This podcast is great. This is wonderful for men's mental health. Do this one. But other ones, right, where it's kind of peddling out, like you said, that stuff on social media where you're only going to like the stuff that you see. So for me, I would say that men are more emotional than women. That's my hashtag in my practice. People don't believe me, but it's true. Anger is an emotion. Okay, men. Anger is an emotion. Okay, feeling numbness is literally your body shutting down due to an overload of emotion. Okay, just because you don't cry, that doesn't mean it's healthy. In fact, the stress hormones called cortisol come out of your tears. It's actually the most regulatory way to help balance out your hormones. So because you're not crying, you're actually holding in more. So get with groups of men that are safe. Find them. There are some there. There are plenty of amazing Black male mental health providers, especially in South Florida. You can write me. I will connect you with them. I have them from all sorts of payment ranges, insurance, private pay, all the things. Or, if you will, trust a Black woman, because we do love you on this side of things. I promise you, we care. We want what's best for you. We are not your mother. We're not going to dog you and challenge you. We're still living and working under ethical means, but we can definitely help assist in some areas.
This is so good, first of all. I cry in therapy, but I'm also an Aquarius, so I can shut down as well. I'm a mixed, I'm all over the place with it. But at this time, Dr. Portia, I have 3 more questions for you. But since you said that, can you please let people know how they can get in contact with you, or they can connect with you as we just come fresh off of that conversation?
Absolutely. Shameless, but no shame plug. So my practice is called Rooted Therapy. You can follow me on my website. It's www.myrootedtherapy.com. Also, you can email me. It's on the website, but contact, literally like you put in a contact, at myrootedtherapy. Also, if you look on Papa Keith's page, he has me tagged. Both of my profiles are there, so it'll be an easy click. You can shoot me a DM. If you become a client, you will not be shooting me DMs. However, you can, and I'll get you connected and into the right proper channels to help and get you resources. Even if it's not me, there are tons of amazing clinicians of color down here. I go to lunch with them. I talk to them. I see their work. I refer my clients to them. They refer their clients to me. I hear about their work. If I'm going to give you a referral, it's going to be somebody that I've vetted. Thank you. Yeah, www.
You're very welcome. How can parents better support their children's mental health in a world filled with anxiety, social media pressure, and constant comparisons?
Listen, with your kids, I will say this: the way that we used to parent as a Black community, it's outdated. It's outdated, and it is not supporting this new generation. I didn't need to go and talk to my parents at certain points in time, right? The first contact I had with the social media or the phone was like a track phone with Nokia, and I had a little snake game. That's all I had on it, okay? I didn't have ads pop up there. I had to go to the 7-Eleven to get my track phone gift card. Okay. That was our life. And so when our parents could, when it was just about respect and fear, it was structural and it was functional at the time. You have social media present. Most of us are giving iPads to our young babies, and starting at a young age, they're popping things up. They have so much exposure. That's the key word. So much more exposure than we had. They don't know more than you know at this phase, but they had so much more exposure. So you need to be approachable. Okay, it is okay for your child to feel frustrated. It is okay for your child to feel sad. I hope that they come to you. My daughter just last night, she just, you never understand me. And she like ran into the room, she's 7, and threw herself on the bed. And if I did that to my mom, let me tell you, I would have been thrown out of a window. Okay. My mom did not play that. She was in the military. You were going to respect her, you're going to respect her in her home, or she was going to make sure she would get respect one way or another. But for me, I started to realize, and I went to therapy as a therapist, even with a play therapy degree. I went to therapy as a therapist because knowing it on paper is different from living it through your own emotional regulation as an adult every single day. And these children will test you every single day. And so I needed support. I needed to figure out, how am I teaching this and helping parents, but I'm struggling with my own kid throwing herself across the room. And so I pulled her out. Emberly is her name. I pulled her out. I said, Emberly, and her, shoot, you mean, you know, she's so angry. My mom used to say stuff like, fix your face. And any snap, I knew, like, I was like, you know, fixed it. But that conversation ended with her crying on my chest. And she smiled and she went to sleep with joy. And that's because I can be firm with her without, every boundary doesn't have to be an electric fence, is what I tell my clients, right? You can have a white picket fence that keeps them on the outside of you. It doesn't need to zap them to death in order for you to get your point across. And again, children are constantly striving for your approval. Come to find out, she was stressed out. There were certain things that had hurt her feelings. Maybe she's tired. I give her the tools and I teach her what I know. Okay. And I have expectations for her. Gentle parenting doesn't mean you let them run amok and you don't have expectations. It means that you can hold expectations with proper consequences that don't result in adult trauma.
Good stuff there. The generational stuff, again, we keep on touching on tonight, you know, breaking those generational curses, mostly leading with discipline and how you handle these situations. Good stuff, Dr. Portia. What's one mental health myth you wish people would stop believing immediately?
Yeah, so many. This one's hard. There's so many. I wish that they would stop. The truth is that therapy should be validating. It should. Therapy should feel cheesy at times. It should feel wonky. It should feel different from the world that we walk every day. Otherwise, it would be worldly and not therapeutic. And so what happens is people almost get offended, you know, by this idea of therapy, and like that either they don't need it or it's woo-woo, or you just tell people what they want to hear. But the truth is that the way that our bodies are set up is they're cyclical and they have needs. And so you do need affirmation. You do need validation. You do need to feel understood. And if you have not learned this in this decade of your life, I promise you, remember my name, Dr. Portia, because in 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, we have theorists, some of their theories have not broken. And you will get to your 60s, 70s, and 80s, and you will start to think back on the life you lived, because death is going to be a lot closer. And you're not going to have the same thought pattern that you have now. And so it's okay to find validation. It's okay to find communities that you feel safe in, because those are the communities that is going to feel safe to grow in. I think a lot of the myth is that therapy is fake and that all it does is just tell you what you want to hear. And so then, you know, that people just go to kind of get gassed up. That's not what's happening. But I don't think that, again, you need to have an electric fence to make positive change. Maybe we need, especially a Black community and a community that doesn't validate us in the streets that we walk on. Abso-freaking-lutely, I need 50 to 60 minutes out of a week that has 7 days and 24 hours in it that I don't feel validated. And you want to judge me for having one of those hours of validation for someone to see me as a human being and to talk safely? That to me is the craziest myth of all. That is just so bogus. I'm like, wow, that is coming from childhood trauma for sure.
That's what's up. For people who can't afford therapy right now, what are some realistic first steps that they can take toward healing and emotional wellness?
So, a couple of things. Some people can actually do therapy, they just don't know it. So, check your insurance policies. I know there's been a lot of judgment around that lately, but the truth is that it's economically savvy. Okay, if that is a resource, please use it. I have people who come and sit on my couch that are millionaires, okay? And they are like, Dr. Portia, my copay, it shouldn't be $20. $20, they are literal millionaires. I promise you this. So it is not a cheapo depot thing, is nothing. Use your resources. It is wise, it is wisdom. Also, if you are needing assistance, or even your kids, or if you're at a space where you just want to expose yourself with less pressure, there are local communities that have grants. There are school clinics that have supervised interns at doctoral and master's level. Yes, it's a student, but there's tons of them. Some of them, I know in my program, there's like 6 of them and 2 supervisors sitting behind. Sometimes we're able to come into the room. They loved it. You can find it at different levels, is what I would say, or contact some of these therapists, see if they have a sliding scale. There's many, many ways, many, many grants. Please just reach out, talk to someone, and they will help get you connected, I assure you. And if they don't, keep reaching out and talk to somebody else.
That's what's up. A final question for you tonight. First of all, I want to thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time and your knowledge. I really hope our audience is able to soak this up and also, seek some more of your expertise. You've really been amazing. You really have, and I appreciate it a lot. I'm so happy we were able to connect this way, and it was very organically. You didn't know any of these questions. We've not known each other prior to this. We seem to know some of the same people I'm seeing in the chat room, but I'm happy that, this conversation brought us together, and you were an amazing guest. Absolutely amazing, Dr. Portia.
Thank you. This is an awesome platform. It's an honor. Like I told you before, I'm just happy to be in the little window here, okay?
You're doing great in that little window. My final question for you. Common Sense PhD is about making life make sense. So in your opinion, what is the one thing society desperately needs to unlearn for us to become emotionally healthier people?
They need to think of emotional injuries like physical ones, okay? That is the simplest, most basic way I can explain it. If you have something happen, like if you have a broken leg and you don't go to the doctor, they're going to think you're crazy. What are you, stupid? you're going to get all this judgment. You need to take yourself in and do that. The same thing happens though to the emotional body. And when I say that, it's not just emotional like woo-woo. Your nervous system, and I will give you a fun fact, which really intrigued me. You can actually go in, right, to the body and remove the nervous system. It is a physical thing that you can remove and put on plates. They've done it for studies in the past. That is intricately connected to your body, your muscles, and your mind, and the hormones and the thoughts that are penetrating through and pulsing through constantly. So when you feel like you've been through infidelity, a miscarriage, if you feel like you were beaten, if you lose a best friend, right? If you lost a parent, a mother, if you move out and you lose your job, that is an emotional wound. It is deeply hurtful. And think of it as like a limb or something that physically needs to be repaired. And when you can think of it in that way, it helps remove the stigma, and you can actually go and validate yourself and work on those things and help it heal. You're literally healing your nervous system, because if you don't, you will limp emotionally like that for the rest of your life until you do.
Man, let's hear it for Dr. Portia. I know your line sisters are so proud of you in there. They're showing you crazy love in the chat room. Yes, they love you too. Again, please let everyone know how they can connect with you on social media. I'm going to put up your website here right now on the stream, but please let them know.
Please follow me. I love the support. Black clinicians, we need support too. If you see my content, feel free to repost it. You'll be surprised. You'll repost it, and then your friend or your mom's friend who saw the post will reach out to me and ask me for assistance. Feel free to DM me, seriously, even if it's not something that I have an expertise on. Like I said, I teach in 2 different local universities in South Florida at times. Also, I am an approved supervisor for the state, so I train a lot of local mental health counselors and marriage and family therapists. So I have a lot of connections to help get you connected to someone in your area, to telehealth. Just reach out and have help. If you need a mentor, okay, if you are a Black professional and you need a mentor, hit me up. I will find someone who wants to take you under their wing. I will find resources for you. It is no bother to me. I am a mom, so give me time. I will get back to you. but I will not forget about you.
That's what's up. That is what's up. Thank you so much. Stay on with me a little bit. Let's do some recap here. But we want to thank everyone for taking the time to connect. Please feel free to subscribe and to follow the podcast. I'm building this, but I'm choosing to build it with some really amazing people. Like I said, Dr. Porsche and I literally just met. This was as organic as it gets. And you see, we gave some great conversation. We both were vulnerable, talked about our own experiences, and hopefully you can share, and learn from that. But please share the link as well. Please share the podcast after it's done. You can share it with your family and friends. And let's get everybody healed up. Before I let you go, is there anything that you like to promote as well? Like maybe something you have coming up or anything that you want to talk about?
Yes. So I have, well, no, if you follow my page, anytime it comes out, definitely I will post it. I ask that you just post, reshare, follow content. That's really where I'm at right now. Also, my practice, I'm looking to continue to build it. And so that's my focus is the community. I like the one-on-one. I like to talk to people. I want to take my time. I'm not one to rush it. So yeah, I'm on a podcast, but this is not my everyday, like I'm normally like behind the scenes and like wanting to actually get to know the real deal and take my time with people. That's my thing. So if I do present, like I recently presented at a conference, the Black Mental Health virtual conference that was a few weeks ago, I will post it. I will share links. You'll be able to kind of follow me. And so I'll do that there for sure.
Well, thank you for doing this. Guys, don't forget to join me this Thursday, 9 o'clock for R&B therapy, where I do a musical therapy. I heal also listening to R&B music, especially the oldies and goodies and stuff like that. I get very vulnerable while I mix it for you here in my studio. So please, if you love R&B as much as I do, I encourage you to tap in. Thursday, 9 o'clock. I do it live right here. So I appreciate that. All right.
Yeah.
Have a great night. All right. We'll see you. Good night, everyone.